publisher of evworld.com, and we're about to explore the future in motion. Today, my guest on the podcast is Matt Fromer. Matt is a senior transportation associate with the Southwest Energy Efficiency Project, and we're going to talk about they helped people buy brand new Nissan Leafs for under, wow, $15,000. 12,000 something or another. I want to figure out how I can get in on that program. So Matt, and I imagine a lot of other people would like to do that too. So hey, thank you for doing this, and welcome to EV World.
Thanks for having me, Bill.
All right. Hey, in reading through some information that was sent to me, the program's been around for about 3 years. You've got 48 programs in 20 states, involving some 80 organizations. And as I pointed out, some of the people in at least one of the programs in Colorado got a brand new Nissan Leaf for under $13,000, a 12,000 something or another odd change. So
yeah,
how did you guys manage to pull that off? That's a 62% discount off the price of that new car.
Yeah, that was a little bit of magic. Yeah. So that program, I think the lowest I've seen is around $9,100 for a brand new. That was a 2017 Nissan Leaf.
Oh man!
And,
Wow.
and to achieve those kinds of savings, it's basically the stacking of the discounts. So we start with the retail price of a 2017 Nissan Leaf. It's about $30,000 to $31,000.
Right.
Then you apply the maximum federal tax credit, which is $7,500. The Colorado state tax credit, which is the highest in the nation, is $5,000.
Okay.
And then this particular program was a partnership between Nissan North America and Xcel Energy, which is our utility here.
Right.
And they offer an additional $10,000 discount.
Wow.
If you add all those up, we're talking about a $22,500 discount off a $31,000 MSRP, and you can get about $9,000 brand new Nissan Leaf, which is pretty incredible for a new car.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to figure out how we can pull that off, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. Maybe give some tips to how activists out there who'd like to see that program in their area, if they don't have one, how they might go about getting that started. So let's talk about how did this all come about. I think I remember reading about this probably 3 years ago. And we probably put some things about it on EV World back then in the news feed, sort of help us understand how this all came about and why.
Sure. So it was actually the first program started in Boulder County as a collaboration between the Southwest Energy Efficiency Project, Boulder County, and Boulder Nissan, which is our local Nissan dealership. The program was actually adapted from a solar group buy program, which is kind of spread throughout the country, but I think started in Portland, Oregon. Basically got together this bulk purchasing power from a community to negotiate a deal with a solar developer. So that idea was adapted to the electric vehicle world. And the first program worked with a couple dealerships. They submitted an RFP. The Boulder County submitted an RFP to local dealerships. And that included any dealership that had an electric vehicle on lot or even a plug-in hybrid on lot. So we're talking the Nissan Leaf, the Chevy Volt. I believe there are several others we were looking at.
Yeah, there was some Ford Fusion hybrids too. So
the Ford Fusion was one. The BMW i3 was another.
Right.
And so these RFPs are what we call non-exclusive selection. So you don't have to just pick one dealership. You can pick as many as you want. As long as they basically can make a promise to deliver on inventory and dealership training and obviously the discount amount. So that's how the first program started in Boulder County. We already had a pretty developed EV market. I think we already had 3 or 4% EV adoption in Boulder. It's a pretty strong environmental community. Yeah. At this point, I think outside California, it has the highest percentage of EVs in the country. So it's a fairly developed market, a lot of interest already. But what we found was that Boulder Nissan dealership, they were selling about 13 Nissan LEAFs per month before the program.
Okay.
And during the program, they sold 63 LEAFs per month. So about a 5 to 6 fold increase
Yeah. Yeah.
during the program. So it kind of capitalized on an existing strength in the Boulder market and was able to accelerate adoption through deeper discounts. And then from there, we saw it expand to other parts of Colorado. There was a program up in Fort Collins that Drive Electric Northern Colorado hosted, and they worked with, I think, 3 or 4 dealerships up there. They had Ford, Chevy, BMW, as well as Nissan. And then a program in Aurora, Colorado, which is a part of the Denver metro area.
Right.
They did something similar. And since then, we've seen it sort of spread west to the western slope. There's actually an active program right now on the western slope. 6 dealerships in Glenwood Springs, which is right off I-70 in the mountains,
Oh, yeah.
offering discounts. And that program was just launched on August 1st.
Okay, so that's so if you happen to live in the Glenwood Springs area, and I would imagine probably Aspen and down to Grand Junction, I would suspect, probably
That's right.
would apply to you then. So, well, cool. So let's talk a little bit about who you work for, Southwest Energy Efficiency Program. How did what is it, project?
It's a project.
What is it? Yeah, what is it, and how did it come about, and how did you get involved in this?
So we started as actually an energy efficiency advocacy group.
Okay.
And so we have a utilities program, an industrial program, and a buildings program, and have since started a transportation program and gotten involved in a lot of electric vehicle and utility grid work. We see that Nexus is sort of an exciting area, more electric vehicles on the grid, expanding EV charging infrastructure, and being able to accommodate this additional load on the grid. We're approaching the electricity sector and the transportation sector with sort of a holistic approach within all those different departments.
So how is just you, or is there 40 other people,
Yeah.
and how are you guys funded?
Well, we're a pretty small organization, and there's about 12 of us.
Okay.
And the headquarters is in Boulder, Colorado. We have a few people working out of Denver, and then we have a representative in 6 different states in the Southwest.
All right.
So we have someone in Nevada, we have Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, and Wyoming.
Okay, so that would account for a map that I'll talk about in just a minute. That sort of reflection on something you guys sent out today with respect to the efforts by the Trump regime. I don't like to refer to them as an administration or a banana republic regime as far as I'm concerned, but that's my politics and I shouldn't let it get in the way. But we'll talk about that in just a minute.
Sure.
Now, is this what I'm hearing is you're really having a lot of luck talking to Nissan. How's it working with some of the other, if I wanted to go and get a Tesla, or I wanted to get a BMW i3, or the new Hyundai or Kia, electric cars, are those available, and are they interested?
So what we've seen is that the early programs, the dealerships offered the discount themselves, so they're funding the incentives.
Okay.
And then Nissan North America, which is the corporate office in the U.S., got wind of this program and decided, what would happen if we scale up across all dealerships within a region and start marketing this deal through an electric utility to all electric utility customers.
Okay.
So and for an organization like Xcel Energy, with operations in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Colorado, and I think in a couple other states, they have millions of customers that they can send out this deal to. So there's that huge marketing incentive there for Nissan to get involved. And what we saw in 2016 and 2017 was this was really a way for Nissan to sort of clear the inventory for some of the 2017 Nissan LEAF models and make way for the 2018, build some excitement around that Generation 2.
Sure.
And so I think they used it for that reason. One other OEM or auto manufacturer that we've seen has been interested in these kind of programs is BMW.
Right.
And they've partnered with a couple of utilities out in California, SDG&E, SCE, and PG&E in the Bay Area, as well as PSE&G out on the East Coast. and they're offering $10,000 discounts off the BMW i3, and some of those programs are current right now.
Okay.
So interest from Nissan and BMW, less interest from some of the other OEMs. I think Chevy, GM is having great success selling the Bolt without these sorts of discounts, and in fact, they can't keep up with the demand. They actually need to increase production, which they've promised to do in Q3. I know that the wait list in Colorado to even test drive a Bolt is 5 or 6 weeks. So they actually have the opposite problem. But that doesn't mean that Chevy dealerships haven't gotten involved, because we've seen dealerships as far as Massachusetts offering their own discounts. They have, I think, 6 or 7 Chevy dealerships in their group buy program that are offering $6,000 discounts off the Chevy Bolt, and that's an ongoing deal. It's not a sort of limited time 2 or 3 month deal. It's been going for 18 months now. So
it's been pretty successful then for them. In fact, I was going to talk a little bit about that, because there is a difference in how some of these are structured. You want to talk a little bit about, you've got sort of the OEM utility link like the Nissan XL, and I gather there are some other types of structures that these take?
That's right. So they started with a sort of traditional RFP model. It was, again, adapted from the solar group buy programs.
Right.
And then when certain smaller communities started thinking about this program, take a city like or town like Durango in southwest Colorado. They only have a couple dealerships in town, so it made sense for them just to go directly to the dealership and to negotiate the discount in person rather than go through the RFP process, send it out to all the dealerships in the region. So they went with that more personal connection. I think the RFP probably makes more sense if you're in a larger city, like say a Denver metro area, where you have dozens of dealerships. You don't have time to contact each one directly. So those are the first 2 models we saw. And those first 2, the deals are offered at a limited time discount. So the average, I think, is between 2 and 3 months per program.
Okay.
And what we've seen is that this really motivates people to get to the dealership. I only have 60 days to access this deal. I should do that now. One approach we've seen in Massachusetts this is a statewide program, is that they have a rolling group buy discount. So they have a table on their website where they give dealerships an opportunity to offer a discount each month and either renew the discount, change the discount, or pull out of the program. And that program's been ongoing for 18 months now. They started the program a couple years ago with 14 dealerships and 3 different auto manufacturers.
Right.
And now they have 34, and they're offering 14 different EV models. So it's really spread throughout Massachusetts, throughout Rhode Island, and they have a great amount of model availability and just consumer choice.
Okay, and those are what, about $6,000? You said something like that.
So the deals are different for every dealership, and they're negotiated separately. For the Chevy Bolt EV, we've seen the best discount right now for July 2018 was $6,000, which is a pretty good deal.
Yeah, absolutely. So. What's been the biggest obstacle to getting these in place? Was finding enough dealerships, finding enough cars, finding enough people just to apply?
Yeah. Well, definitely the consumer choice is a big challenge. Not everybody wants a Nissan LEAF. So I think a lot of these programs, and it's hard to actually sort of measure the impact, because people will go to the dealership, check out a Nissan LEAF, and realize, I like this car, but I'd like a little more range, so they're going to go to the Chevy dealership and get a Bolt.
Yeah.
But it's a really great access point for anyone to just experience an EV, learn a little bit about it, learn about the charging, and just start to open themselves up to the technology. One other big challenge we've seen with the program is just lack of inventory. So with some of the 2017 Nissan LEAF group buy programs, they were selling like hotcakes the first few weeks of the program, and the dealerships actually ran out of inventory, and the Nissan North America wasn't able to redistribute the vehicles and get them on lot in time. And so we had customers hearing about the deal, showing up at the dealership, and then there isn't even a Nissan LEAF available to test drive.
Yeah. because they've sold it to a customer. So
because they've sold them, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great amount. I mean, in certain places, like there's one program I remember in Bend, Oregon, where they sold one Nissan Leaf in the 2 months prior to the program. So averaging half a Nissan Leaf per month.
per month.
In the first week of the group buy, they sold 13 Leafs.
Wow.
So if you're a dealership, if you're managing the dealership, how do you plan for something like that, right?
Yeah.
So inventory is a big issue, and what we found is the main workaround there is to sort of contact other neighboring dealerships and figure out vehicle trading terms, so that in case that if your fleet is depleted, that you can replenish it with a nearby dealership.
Yeah.
Vehicle trading there.
So the discount then is actually coming not from some local government fund, but actually they're really coming from at least the initial the buy down there is coming from the car manufacturer or from the dealership itself then.
That's right, yeah, which makes it a great opportunity for local governments, for nonprofits, because the investment is fairly low. If you're a government like City of Boulder, City of Omaha, and you have climate goals, say transportation sector, GHG emissions reductions, you have targets for 2020, 2025. This is a really great way, a really impactful way, and a cost-effective way to reduce those emissions without spending too much money on the program, because none of the incentive funding is coming out of the government budget.
Right. Typically, well, we talked about the rolling part here. We talked about the discount. Let's kind of shift focus for a moment and let's talk about the Trump the Trump government, EPA, Highway Safety Administration, their proposal to, as I understand, basically freeze the mileage at wherever it is now. What are we, about 22 to 24 miles per gallon, something like that. From what they were shooting for, obviously, was getting it up to 35 and maybe at some point even 50 miles per gallon. So where do you guys come down on that? I saw something you sent out.
Yeah, we support the clean car standards that were established by the Obama administration and negotiated with California, negotiated with the auto manufacturers, and this is back in 2010 and again 2012. They did a midterm review of those standards in 2016 to assess whether the automakers could reach the standards, whether it was feasible technologically, and found that the automakers were actually over complying with the standards at that point. It actually, the additional cost per vehicle was lower than they had thought. The fuel savings were greater than they thought. So they found the standards to be feasible, achievable. And yeah, I mean, we support a national plan. We think that every consumer in America should have the opportunity to purchase a fuel-efficient vehicle and to save money at the pump, and to reduce GHG emissions and local air pollutants. So I support both a national plan with the old standards that were negotiated and agreed upon several times over the past decade, but I also support the state's right to control their own pollution and use their own policy to do so. And California has clearly, time and again, defended their right to the Clean Air Act waiver. We have 12 other states plus Washington, D.C. that have signed on and adopted the same California standards. And Colorado's actually recently done the same. So we're in that process now of adopting the LEV and perhaps even the ZEV standard.
Yeah. What's interesting is I just got a press release for which I get pretty much every day, it seems, from the Attorney General of the state of New York. And she noted that they've got now 20 of the attorney generals who are joining this New York State in filing suit against the federal government for trying to change the rules after the rules have been set now for 6 years. So so good. I mentioned looking through some of the material that you guys have a handbook that you developed, I think, for guiding other organizations and states and things like that to we have just what's little background here. Our local utility is making available to customers within this Douglas County, which is the largest county incorporating Omaha, Nebraska, that which of course is the biggest city in the state. That there is a program to provide. I think it's like $4,000 for people to buy an electric vehicle. What I'm wondering is would it make sense then to go, for example, to the local Sierra Club or somebody and say, hey, let's see if we can talk to all of the Nissan dealers around town, about this program, or the BMW dealer, or whoever, and see if they might be interested in taking part in this program. So I guess what I'm saying is, how do I get a hold of the textbook or the handbook?
Yeah, the handbook is on our website.
Okay.
At swenergy.org. I'd be happy to share a link through the EV World website. And that sounds like a great opportunity to get Sierra Club involved and get their network, spread the word through their network. Any nonprofit, local government, we've seen universities get involved. We've seen big employers get involved in promoting these discounts.
Right.
In one case, we saw in Salt Lake City, the Hoggle Zoo as actually promoting the deal at the zoo for both electric vehicles and electric bikes.
Sure.
So really, any civic organization that wants to get involved, the more the merrier. Getting the message out is really key.
Okay, good. You mentioned electric bikes. That was the thing I saw was surprising at the end of one of the pieces of information you sent me, that there are some discount electric bicycle programs. Talk a little bit about that, because obviously, being the founder of Quick Bike, I'm also interested in getting people on electric bikes.
Sure. Yeah. That's same. I think there's a lot of pressure from transportation departments, a lot of interest from transportation departments to shift from single occupancy vehicle commuting, so traveling to work in a car by yourself, getting off the road and getting onto a bike. But one sort of limitation we've seen is that people may live 10 plus miles from work and don't necessarily feel like riding a traditional bike to work. So especially in mountainous Colorado, where these electric bikes can really assist you as you pedal uphill, these are great solutions. And one program we've seen at Boulder County recently, they've sort of shifted from the electric vehicle group program now to an electric bike program, and they're offering, I think, 10 to 25% discounts from multiple bike stores throughout Boulder over the summer. And I know there's another program, I think, out of the University of Utah. So they're working with staff and students there. I know they're up on a hill right in front of the Wasatch Range, and students don't want to show up to class all sweaty from riding their bike. So it's a perfect application for an electric bike.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, look, this is, I think, very helpful. I'm going to see if I can encourage the local Sierra Club to maybe take a look at that handbook and see if that's something that they might like to participate in. So good work. What's next then for you guys? Get outside of that 5 or 6 state zone and maybe start working more in some of the redder states. Although I shouldn't say that, because looking at Wyoming and some of the others that might participate. Anyway, so what's next then?
Yeah, well, to your point, I would say I think 5 of the 6 sweep states in our territory are red states.
Right.
So it's certainly, it's not a cakewalk. But we're making progress in Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, Utah, Wyoming, and certainly Colorado. The big thing on our plate right now is adopting those clean car standards in Colorado, and determining how far we want to go. Do we want to do the low emission vehicle standards, which is what the CAFE and GHG emission standards are now at the federal level, or do we want to perhaps go a little bit further and adopt the zero emission vehicle standards, which California initially developed and has been adopted by 9 other states in the U.S. And I mean, what we're seeing and this kind of relates to the Group Buy programs, is that the automakers are really focusing this EVs and the EV inventory on ZEV states, on states that have favorable policies that shift their market toward electric vehicles. And Colorado doesn't want to be left behind. We want those cars. We want the new Subaru Crosstrek electric vehicle on lots in Colorado. We don't want all of them, just in California and on the East Coast. So that's a huge priority here right now.
Yeah, good. All these cars, are these basically, we're talking about inventory, past inventory clearance cars, or are they now making available 2018s with the increased range and other benefits?
Yeah, so we're talking about the new cars that are coming online in the next few years. I think in 2017 there was something like 40 EV models available. By the end of 2018 there'll be 53, and by 2022 we're talking about 90. And dozens of those will be SUVs and crossovers. So
Right.
Really addressing the entire market and not just sort of the smaller compact car market.
Okay, great. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate what you're doing. Enjoy the rest of your vacation there with, I guess, at your parents' place.
Yeah, out in New Jersey. Thank you.
Okay, you bet. And we'll look forward to working with you guys maybe in the future. So,
Sure thing. Happy to help, Bill. Let me know about that program.
okay, all right. Thank you. Bye bye.